The sun beat down on the dusty square of Dry Creek, its heat as merciless as the stares of the townsfolk gathered for what they called an auction, although everyone knew it was nothing more than a public shaming. On the wooden platform, a young woman stood with her wrists bound, her chin lifted though her heart trembled beneath the weight of so many judging eyes. Her name was Clara, and she had been dragged here against her will, accused of debts she never owed, treated as though she were property to be sold off to the highest bidder. The auctioneer, a man whose voice dripped greed, barked out numbers, his callous hands pointing toward her as if she were no more than a piece of cattle. The men in the crowd jeered. Some smirked with cruel intent. Others looked away in guilt, but none moved to stop what was happening. Clara swallowed hard, her throat dry, refusing to let them see her break, though inside she prayed for some miracle. Just as the bidding began, the sound of boots striking the ground, with steady confidence, cut through the murmur of the crowd. A tall figure emerged from the dust, his hat pulled low, his jaw set firm with the kind of grit that only men hardened by the land seemed to carry. His name was Jace McGraw, a cowboy known more for keeping to himself than for meddling in town affairs. Yet as his eyes locked on Clara, something in him shifted. He saw not a woman to be bought, but a soul fighting to keep her dignity amid wolves. The auctioneer's voice grew louder, rattling off bids, $50, $75, $100, and the crowd clamored, eager to see who would claim her. Jace's voice rang out clear and steady. $500. The crowd gasped, heads whipped toward him, disbelief etched across their faces. That was more than a man made in a year, more than anyone would ever risk for someone branded as worthless. The auctioneer faltered, his greedy eyes narrowing as he tried to push the bidding higher, but no man dared challenge Jace. No man wanted to stand against the steel in his gaze. Finally, with a trembling hand, the auctioneer slammed down his gavel. Sold. The square fell into silence, broken only by the shuffle of boots as Jace strode forward. He didn't wait for permission, didn't bow to the murmurs of disapproval. He stepped up onto that platform, pulled his knife, and with one swift cut, the ropes fell away from Clara's wrists. For the first time, her eyes met his up close. They were steady, fierce, yet filled with something she hadn't seen in so long, kindness. He reached for her hand, not to claim, not to possess, but to lead her down from that stage where humiliation had tried to stake its claim. The crowd whispered, scandal rippling through them like wildfire, but Jace didn't care. He lifted her chin gently, his voice low so only she could hear. You're free now. No one lays claim to you, not while I'm breathing. That surged through her veins. For too long she had been made to feel powerless. But here was a man who had wagered everything he owned to remind her she was worth more than gold, more than pride, more than every dollar spent that day. They walked together through the crowd, and though some spat in the dust and muttered curses, others lowered their gaze in shame, unable to meet the courage that had just been displayed. By the time they reached his horse, Clara found her voice at last. Why would you do this for me? You don't even know me. Jace adjusted his hat, his expression calm yet firm. Don't need to know you. I just know wrong when I see it. And I'll be damned if I let it stand while I've still got breath in me. His words struck deep into her heart, planting seeds of hope in soil long left barren. He offered his hand again, and this time she took it without hesitation. As he helped her onto the saddle, she felt something she hadn't dared in years, safe. As the horse carried them away from Dry Creek, Clara looked back once, not in sorrow, but with a newfound fire. She wasn't property. She wasn't cattle. She was a woman who had been rescued not because she was weak, but because one man refused to let her be broken. And as the dust of the town faded behind them, she knew her story was only beginning, one written not in shame but in strength, alongside a cowboy who had risked everything to remind her of her worth. That day in Dry Creek was remembered not for an auction, but for the moment one cowboy stood against a crowd, bid everything he had, and walked away not with possession, but with the start of something no amount of money could buy. Dignity, freedom, and a bond stronger than chains. And if you felt the power of this story, if it stirred something in you the way Jace's courage stirred hope in Clara, then don't just let it end here. Subscribe to this channel, because there are more stories waiting to be told. Stories of strength, love, redemption, and the unbreakable spirit of the Wild West. Every tale we share will remind you that courage can rise from dust, and hope can be found even in the darkest of places.